Hi, this is Ron Robinson here, bringing you a review of the Caster Racing Fusion EX 2.0R Ready to Run Electric 8th Scale Buggy. This review is partly sponsored by Caster Racing since they have kindly given me an opportunity to be a team driver for them. Now, before you assume that this review is paid for by Caster Racing and is biased towards Caster Racing, it is not. I'm not being paid for doing this, and I have had this buggy since late September of 2014, and I've done a lot of driving with it, and I want to share how it performed because there isn't a lot of information out there about this buggy. So, that being said, let's get on with this review. This buggy is the latest version of the first electric 1/8 scale buggy. This buggy was never designed to be powered by a nitro engine. It's the first 100% electric buggy, both in RTR and kit form. It's easy to see when you take the body off. This car has its center diff in the middle of the chassis instead of off to one side slightly, like we're used to seeing on nitro buggies that have been converted into electric. This car uses a saddle pack style layout with two battery boxes that sit on either side of the center driveline. A standard 2S hard case LiPo will fit in each one, but no batteries are included. The motor is a 42 by 65mm 2000 kV 4-pole sensorless brushless motor, and it is hooked up to a Hobbywing 80A ESC that is wired in series with Dean's connectors. The drivetrain is all metal, including the spur gear. For suspension, you get big bore shocks all the way around, and the front drive shafts are CVAs, while the rear drive shafts are dog bones. This car also uses a pillow ball style front suspension. The tires look like the discontinued Proline 1/8 scale calipers. They feel soft, but they are not sticky. The radio system is 2.4 GHz. From the outside, it looks like a Traxxas TQI radio, but it isn't. This radio doesn't have the two red programming buttons like the Traxxas TQI. This radio just has steering and throttle trim, steering and throttle reversing, and steering dual rate. So, in driving time, this car tops out at around 30 miles per hour out of the box. Now, I haven't checked that speed with a radar gun since I don't own one, but I'm willing to bet that this estimate is close. Out of the box, this car accelerates well due to its 11-tooth pinion, but this vehicle is under-geared out of the box. One nice thing about this car being under-geared is that its maximum safe top speed isn't accessible. This is good for someone looking into getting an 8th scale buggy because most beginners are not ready for the power and speed of 14.8 volts of power. Dropping a 16-tooth Mod 1 pinion on this motor really wakes the car up. Now we're looking at a top speed of around 35 to 37 miles per hour, maybe 40. Again, I don't have a radar gun. Now this footage that you're looking at right here is me racing at a Tyler RC racing event, and I did make some tuning changes for this race. I'm running a Novak 16-tooth Mod 1 pinion gear on the stock motor, but I'm running Proline Badlands tires, and I tuned my diffs. I'm running a Team Associated 7,000 weight diff oil in the front, Team Associated 10,000 weight diff oil in the center, and S-Works 3,000 diff oil in the rear. This diff setup keeps the center diff from diffing out, and it helps the rear end rotate better through turns, and it helps reduce drivetrain wear, particularly in the center. The saddle pack battery layout also helps the car feel balanced in turns and in the air. This car's jumping ability is absolutely mind-blowing. It's hands down the best jumping, flying, and landing RC I've ever owned and currently own. With the battery sitting on either side of the center driveline, it feels very balanced, and the big bore shocks do an excellent job of soaking up the landings and composing the car. This car has a nice three-way connection between driver, controller, and car, which is what I personally like. This car just has a great driving feel to it. I have driven an Offnet LX2E, a 1/8 scale X-Ray that has been converted to brushless use, as well as a couple other 8th scale buggies that have a nitro to converted electric layout. To me, the nitro converted cars seem hesitant to rotate in a sharp turn, whereas the Caster rotates very quickly and predictably as you let off the throttle going into a turn and apply power while exiting the turn. Again, it just has a great feel to it.
So now I'm going to talk about durability, part support, and wrap it up with value. So these are all the plastic parts that I've broken. I've broken a front suspension mount, rod end of a turnbuckle, wing mount, A-arm, and a battery box. Basically, all these plastic parts broke when I was taking this car off of some big jumps, and it was 30-35 degrees Fahrenheit. So when that happens, the plastics, get brittle, and 7-pound RC car landing on brittle plastic equals a broken part. So this car actually is fairly durable, but the plastic compound that Caster Racing is using for this car, I don't believe it's quite soft enough to handle cold temperatures. So if you do want to buy this thing, if you're looking at buying this thing, don't take it off of a lot of big jumps during the winter months. Just drive it, just keep it on all 4 tires, and the car's going to last a lot longer. If you want to kind of see some of this car's durability, I'll include a link. I mean, not a link, but a link in the description below of some jump tests that I did with this thing. I crashed that thing a ton, even though I didn't film all the crashes, but nothing broke that day. Next thing that broke, or 2 things that broke actually. One is this pinion gear. That some of the teeth are stripped out. The pinion gear meshes with this metal ring gear, and basically what happened was this diff was improperly shimmed from the factory. So, there were 2 shims on the opposite side of this ring gear. Like, imagine there being a diff case here, and your outdrive is here, and your shims were right here. Shims were right there. So in order to help this little guy last longer, when we first buy this car, take out your front and rear diffs and take those shims that are on the opposite side of this ring gear and put them on the same side as the ring gear. That's gonna push this piece up against this metal piece a lot better, and it's gonna help the part last a lot longer. Also, since we're on the subject of the ring gear, there's supposed to be a piece of metal right here that that's for the bearing. That broke off because this was the ring gear on the front of the car, and what happens is that this car uses CVAs, like I mentioned earlier. There's CVAs in the front, so taking out the center diff can be kind of hard. One thing I recommend doing if you want to do some differential tuning or something, or re-shimming it, is remove one of these set screws that keeps there's a pin right here. It's kind of hard to see, but there's a pin. Just take that pin out. That's going to allow this upper A arm to come out, and it just makes getting into your diff so much easier, and you won't ever have to worry about this happening. Same thing at the rear of the car. Remove one of these screws. That's going to allow the camber link to come off. It's going to allow this tire to rotate this direction, or this tire this direction. It just makes accessing your diffs so much easier. So that's and also stripped out some of the threads on the wheel nuts, because these, on the 17mm wheel hub, sorry, that's because these wheel nuts only go on one way. So if you put them on the wrong way, this is gonna give out, or you're gonna end up stripping out threads, which is bad. Also, the last thing that kind of started to wear out, didn't necessarily break, but these are the center outdrives. As you can see, there is a lot of wear on them. So in order to prevent that from happening, you need to tune your diffs. I did, and just looking at them, there's no wear on the center driveline. So when you get this car, before you go out and drive it, I strongly recommend shimming your diffs, at least your front and rear diffs. The front one, the center one does need to be shimmed, and then change out your diff oil. Again, I mentioned earlier what I'm running in all 3 diffs. I'm still running that same setup, and it's holding up just fine. So there's that. Next thing I want to cover is parts support. I get all of my Caster Racing parts from casterracingmi.com. I'll include a link to that website in the description below. But I don't know how many shops in the United States, like actual in-person hobby shops, carry Caster Racing parts. I don't know of any in the Texas area that do. So, but if you're at the track and something breaks, like an A-arm or something like that, try Mugen parts. because I'm running Mugen MBX 6 arms in the front because, you know, when this part gave out, you know, I wanted to get back on the track and race. So I don't know if MBX 7 arms will fit because I haven't had a need to try that yet. I'm still running the stock rear arms because, again, they haven't broken. They're still in good condition. So if something breaks, if it's, you know, A-arms or something like that, try Mugen if you're at the track and you don't have a caster racing part. Also, wing mount broke, so I replaced that with a Mugen MBX5 wing mount. And so last thing I want to talk about is overall value. This car costs $430 on casterracingmi.com, and I think that's a pretty good deal because you get I think a better chassis layout than most other RTRs that are out there, such as the Offnet LX2E. Not saying that that's a bad car, but I do believe this vehicle handles better than a vehicle with that style of electronics layout. I have driven, I mentioned before, I have driven an Offnet LX2E. I mentioned that it's hesitant to rotate in a turn, whereas this rotates, you know, very smoothly and predictably, because I think that's largely due to the saddle pack layout, because, you know, it keeps the weight balanced left to right. So and also this car does include the metal spur gear, which I think is absolutely fantastic and really adds to the durability. I've owned a few four-wheel drive RCs, and the persistent problem that I have is the plastic spurs giving out. This metal spur gear is still the same stock, 46 tooth Mod 1 metal spur, hasn't giving out, doesn't show any signs of wear. Pinion gears haven't worn out, even though I've driven this thing through forest trails and stuff like that. This car is extremely durable. I think it handles better than a lot of other RTR 8th scales that are out there. I haven't driven all of them, so I can't say that they all that they all handle badly, but I think this one does handle a lot better. Also, with the stock electronics, if you drop in, you know, a 16 tooth pinion gear or even a 15 tooth Mod 1 pinion, this thing will keep up with all of like the modern high-end 8th scale buggies that are out there that are outfitted with all of the high-end electronics. I know this because I have raced this thing alongside TLR, or Team Lucy Racing 8E 3.0s and Techno EB 48.2s, and, you know, I was able to keep up with them while actually still racing these Proline Badlands tires, which aren't exactly the tires that are well suited for a clay surface. So that's it for this review. Thank you very much for watching. I want to say a special thank you to the people over at Caster Racing for giving me an opportunity to be a team driver for them. Again, this review is completely unbiased towards Caster. This is all based on the experience that I've had with this car. The only other thing I really want to touch on, I'll touch on it briefly, is working on the vehicle. This vehicle does use E-clips, which I'm not too... I don't really like E-clips. I think they're kind of annoying and they can come off, but it's not terrible. If you have like a small flathead screwdriver, they're easy to get off, and a pair of needle nose pliers will put them back on relatively easily. So that's it for this review. Again, thank you very much for watching. Have any questions or comments, please put them in the comments section on YouTube, and I'll do my best to answer them. Also, in the link below, there's I have a thread on rctech.net where I talk about all the changes that I've made to this car. I will also be doing another video about this car, just going over all the changes that I have made to it, just stuff I've been playing around with. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.